Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be back with you. I've started this like 4 times now. I'm going to hope that if this doesn't go, I'm doing it tomorrow. Yeah, so I know I apologize for what's going on with the camera and the lights and the microphone. I went to grab everything that I use to make a video on my patio is right inside the door, right inside my patio door. I had a dream maybe 6 weeks ago that there was some creepy guy in my house. So I go to grab all of the lighting and all of the hookups for the camera and the microphone. They're gone, gone. I went through every room, every closet. I mean, it's Mercury retrograde, but there's not a lot of places to hide in my house, and I hit all of them. So I apologize. I know you're going to have something in the corner of the screen, but this is the best I can do. I'm kind of creeped out that someone was in my house. I really thought when I had that dream, I thought it was about something else. I always say, it's nice to have prophetic dreams, but you really don't know what they mean until something happens. And then you're like, oh, that's what that meant. So anyway, um, yeah, I appreciate everyone's comments and messages of support. I posted on the community page if anyone wants to take a look who hasn't seen it about what was going on with us. Not going to talk about it on camera because that would be, I just can't do that. I'll tell you, like 90% of people who know me don't know what I shared with you. But it's probably going to be about 6 months so we have a better idea exactly what's going on. Maybe it's good news. All three of my kids are Aquarians and they've all had Saturn going through the house of their sun, and they have a lot of planets actually in Aquarius. And it's been challenging, but they've also had really good things play out. Saturn also rewards us. It's not all bad news. And so, I just know because she's a Gemini rising and Mars was about to go into her first house when this started, that most likely it will be probably April till we have clearer understanding of what's going on. But I really appreciate your support. And, I had to take some time. We're all human, right? And just when you let yourself get worn down by, whatever's going on, when there's challenges that come up and you're sleep deprived or you're sick, we tend to, go to that place when all of that is happening. It's something that I really don't dwell on, obviously. And Bailey every day is happy. She's content. She's really tired right now, but that's just par for the course for what's happening with her physical body. But she's happy. And so I try to stay there because what good does it do to go the other way? But I did. I'm not going to lie. I went the other way, and we need to take time to grieve sometimes, and that's what I was doing. So, but yeah, I'm thinking of everyone as I'm making this video. The eye is coming on shore. Hurricane Ian, my ex-husband and I were in Fort Lauderdale when Andrew hit. Um, this one, Ian, is 600 miles wide. Everyone in the state of Florida, just so you know, a lot of people in this community live in Florida. So I'm thinking of all of you, sending you love, angelic support, and hoping. I see like what they're doing with the response. It seems like it's phenomenal. Like they've covered all the bases. And remember when I made the video with the council, they spoke about our money going to natural disasters and relief. So, we know that that is what's happening right now. We talked about that so many times. And this new moon, that the one that happened in Libra that I missed because the internet was out. One of you mentioned like about all the things going on with me. I've been having a really serious Pluto transit. He's sitting on my chart ruler, the traditional ruler of my sun. I don't talk about it, but last year was actually, pretty bad. Yeah, last year was bad. And that's when this started with Bailey too. It started exactly a year ago this month. That she started having these issues that we weren't sure exactly what was going on. But back to the hurricane, I'm thinking of all of you and sending you love and support, hoping that, power is restored or maybe you don't lose it. We didn't lose power in Andrew, but of course, back then, that was 30 years ago, which is shocking to me. But they thought it was going to go up north and it went south and it hit Homestead and it just wiped out the whole community. There was an Air Force base that they never opened again that was hit. So, let's hope that it stays with the less populated areas. But I know there will be a lot of flooding where it is coming on land. It's so marshy there. It's beautiful, but it's so marsh. And we know like everything that we've seen coming for Florida, not tomorrow, but just in the years ahead, that Florida will probably end up underwater for the most part. So anyway, I'm thinking of all of you, and I know it's scary watching that come on shore. It's scary looking up at the sky. I remember the giant swirl, which Andrew was much smaller, but the giant swirl, then when you would look inside the giant swirl, there were little swirls everywhere. So I know that there were a lot of tornadoes yesterday in the southernmost part. But yeah, I'm thinking of all of you. And really all over the world, there's, so much happening now with climate change, so many people going through flooding, thinking of everyone in Japan. I've also been thinking a lot about the Japanese students that I've been in courses with, but the Russian students that I've been in courses with. And we really need to send love and support to those people. They're not necessarily on board with what their governing body is doing right now. And I really feel for them. My son has friends, twins he went to high school with who are fighting in Ukraine um, against the Russian. They went there and got their mother out, and then went back to Ukraine to fight. So there's just so much going on in the world, and the astrology right now with Mars. He rules like the inner spark and what breathes life to us, what makes us feel that the journey is worth it. He shows us like how to have adventures, kind of like directing us and our forward motion. um, and in Gemini, it's not like a negative placement, but let's remember like Mercury hit the ruler of Gemini was retrograde while Mars was there. He's still retrograde. And then even when as he moves forward, because he's going all the way to 25 Gemini and then he's going all the way back. So this is a good time with that Libra new moon. We had Jupiter feeding into it. Good time to let go of relationships where there's no reciprocation, where there's not an equal exchange. I think that a lot of us, especially those of us who are compassionate and have a lot of empathy, tend to find relationships where the person maybe isn't accustomed to unconditional love. They tend to treat the people in their lives who are not good to them, who treat them like they're worthless, better than they treat the people who offer them true friendship and support. And that's for romantic relationships as well. But it's really time to release those people. And, it can be painful. Not saying, not to be friends, but just be careful with that because, um, you can't teach someone that they're worthy of unconditional love. That's something that they need to come to on their own. I also need to let you know that October 4th, we will start the second installment of the Metatron course, Becoming Meta You. This segment, which is 3 months long, will be with Gabriel. We're going to be working a lot with the inner child and coming into the countenance of joy. Joy, he's saying, that is everlasting, that doesn't just come and go when we feel good and then we feel rotten, but really getting to the core. They were reminding me of being in the Star Baby Nursery, which I've spoke about before. All of us are there before we come in, and the hope that lives in that space. It just is It exudes hope. And so coming back to that, and Mars is as the ruler of Aries is, that inner spark that brings us to life. And this is a good time to go back and look at maybe things that you had started that there was an interruption, for the timing. Today, Mars is trine Saturn, who is time. But and if you missed out with the new moon, if you weren't able to take advantage or do your little ritual, I want to let you know, like the 1st of October, as Mercury stations, Venus comes back to the degree that we had the new moon and her rulership in Libra. So if you want to do something then, and Mercury is going to hit that new moon degree on the 12th of October. If you'd like to sign up for the Metatron course, we're doing 2 live meetings a month. They'll be on Tuesday evenings at 7 o'clock, and they last about an hour 15 minutes or so. And then I do healing meditations that we send out. We'll probably do some of that in the live meetings as well this time. But they were getting me all ready for that, and I was getting all excited. Gabriel was talking to me about the different things that we're going to be going over, and I was feeling like so excited about it. And then all of that happened with Bailey, and I had to push it back. So, as long as you sign up by October 2nd, it's a subscription, so it's 111 a month for the 3 months, and you'll have those recordings to use whenever you feel like it, forever and ever. So I'm going to talk about the full moon in Aries that we have coming on the 10th or 9th, depending on where you are in the world. It's happening on October 9th at 9:54 p.m. in London, on the 10th of October at 7:54 a.m. in Sydney, and then the 9th of October Central Standard Time, it'll be 3:54 p.m. So, a 9, of course, we look at the minutes because everyone's got a different hour depending on where you are in the world. But full moons are about releasing and things coming to light. The moon is going to be, I want you to take a look here. The moon will be with Chiron. I don't know why my screen, I hope it's not doing that for you guys, but it's running lines across the screen for me. But the moon is with Chiron, and it is opposing Heimdall, which means the guard of the bridge between heaven and earth. It's like the highest aspect of our consciousness that we refer to here as Metatron, or the Holy Spirit in the Bible, the comforter. So Metatron's vibration, or the higher selves, with Venus and the sun in Libra. And this will have to do with a lot to do with society at large because it's happening in the 11th house in Aries, but how you were affected, maybe in a friend group, something to do with your peers or those that you've partnered with. I think that's why he wanted me to mention that people who are, he's saying, conditioned to having to earn love will make the relationships where they feel comfortable, that's home for them, as that they need to prove their worth. Those relationships are more important to them, and sometimes there's nothing that we can do about that. We just need to walk away, because at some point, we need to put ourselves first, and he's saying our vibrations, but also our joy. And part of tending to ourselves is not allowing other people to take advantage of us or to hurt us because they were hurt. Um, so will be Jupiter will be in a loose opposition to this. You could still say he's part of it just because he is such a big guy. But Chiron is always really inspirational. Actually, the night that the council came to me on my patio and told me that they wanted me to channel them, the full moon was taking place on Chiron at that time as well. So he plays a very significant role in soulmate charts as well. And we don't know that much about Chiron. He hasn't been around that long. He hasn't been part of our consciousness. So we are still learning a lot about him. He's a wise teacher, is what Metatron is saying. Remember, the centaurs were teachers. And so I just want to give you that heads up because Mercury is in a harmonious trine exactly with Pluto on that day. And so things could be coming up related to the past or secrets. Maybe something was going on in a relationship that you suspected. You'll probably get some information, but dreams should be pretty intense because Nessus and Raphael are at the fixed star Arcanar, and then Saturn and Mars are in a loose trine. So that's kind of like, building slow and steady growth. But with full moons, we don't look at it as much as a time to start something. It more reveals a truth, brings things to light. The ascendant in this chart is in Cancer, and Pallas Athena is there. She's speaking with Saturn and with Mars and with Neptune. So, really taking time to tune in to your inner wisdom, to your soul that's always speaking to you. It's usually not audible, especially when that first starts. It's usually something that we sort of take for granted, and then we start paying closer attention. So I talked about the 1st and the 12th that we're going to kind of revisit those new moon and Libra energies. And that is significant because it was in an opposition to Jupiter as he's in the midpoint of the Saturn Uranus squares. So obviously, with my chart, that's very significant. And for all of you who had big things go on in 2021, those will be revisited. If that doesn't pertain so much to you, then really, he's talking about looking at the inner hearth. That is, I know he's talking about Vesta, so I'm trying to find her now. Why can't I see Vesta? Oh, sorry. She's with Saturn, and she is in a harmonious trine exactly with Mars. So that is about the inner spark. He's talking about confidence, reaching higher, maybe setting a goal for the future that you believed would be beyond you, but now you understand that outside of the illusion, all that is supports you, unconditionally loves you, accepts you unconditionally, and releasing anything of victimhood related to the past. Everyone is our teacher. So finding out like what was the purpose, what was the lesson in that pain, and just allowing yourself a release. Really, a full moon with Chiron is a great time to release. Anything that was like a disharmonious connection, an imbalance, that's when we need to release that. And then Mars, of course, is going to. I just want to talk about the Mars moving through Gemini now because I've been wanting to do that since before he started. So on the 25th, this is the last full moon, remember, before eclipses start. So the 25th of October, is the new moon partial eclipse that'll be seen over Europe, Southwest Asia, and Northeast Africa. um, Mars reaches the degree of his station and he sits there for quite a while. What's interesting is that as he sits there at 25 Gemini, he's in a trine with where Saturn began his retrograde earlier this year. So, um, with new moon, partial solar eclipse, this is where, because of what's going on with Mars, it may be good to have, he's saying, measured and precise movements. Gemini is about choice, right? So before you come to decisions, taking your time, making sure you have all of the relevant facts that are going on. Um, when we have this full moon in Aries on the 9th and 10th of October, Pluto will be stationary direct, getting ready to move forward. And remember, he's in that trine with Mercury. Mercury isn't just the mind, he's movement, he's counterparts, like our peers, our associates. So, trying to notice like what is being reflected to you through relationships. Um, and then what else did you want me to mention. Okay. So the 4th of October, that is the day that we start our live meetings again for the Metatron course. But Mars will come to the Mars of the United States. On Mars, let's see, the last time when Mars came up to hit the Uranus of the United States is when the judge granted a special master in the court case, or the case of the documents, government documents being found at Mar-a-Lago. So, we already know that that's going to be continuing on. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on the 4th of October. But it could be within a few days of that as well, because astrology isn't like a, specific time, and also, with like this Uranus square Saturn energy and Jupiter being in between them, you can't really look up every place in the world to see what's happening in that chart. I saw a post from another astrologer. If I could remember who it was, I would tell you. But just someone that I'm friends or in a group with on Facebook, that I don't think you guys would know. I mean, the name wasn't familiar to me, but they did some research and found that Australia, it could be significant for Australia. So we'll see what's happening with that. And really, when you look at this chart of the full moon with Chiron opposing Venus and the sun, you may want to just take a step back and kind of take time for yourself. This could be a lot of emotion. The ruler, of course, is Mars, and he's in the 12th house in this chart, which is the universal chart. And so that tells me that there's a lot happening internally uh, during these energies. And expect, of course, that you'll start feeling this early, because the moon will pass by Jupiter, which is he's such a big guy, um, on his way to Chiron. So also Sphinx, which is like the secrets of the universe, of course, is involved in it as well. So, like I said, a lot of things becoming, he's saying, visible. A lot of, he's saying, actions being outed, um, for the collective. And then also, he's talking about like an internal exam, like, and really being kind to yourself. The wise teacher lives within you, the Christ consciousness lives within each of us. That wisdom is always there. He's saying to cash in on. So I don't know if he is talking to one of you about an investment. Of course, Venus rules money as well, and Mars is in the sign of Gemini, rules the markets. So perhaps something with that happening. I've seen like the forecast. I know in Europe, you guys are going to have exorbitant heating costs coming. They say that the United States is not headed for a recession, but that Europe is. But, they said a lot of things like back earlier in the summer. Well, there goes the chart about what was going to happen. And it didn't happen. So, we don't have to all go into that negative place, right? Um, and then also, just because of, Saturn being in Aquarius, remember that if we connect with resentment to the AI that's out there, that kind of gives it a door, open door. So my ancestors always tell me, like, you should be grateful, or they don't say should, but they're like, be grateful for all of the modern conveniences that you have. If we can just be grateful for those, and there isn't that obstruction of peace and love and light. We don't want to be affecting the AI in a way that's negative by sending it resentment or being afraid of it. Fear is just what we believe, it's nothing to do with the truth. So, anyway, you guys, thank you for sticking with me and for all of your messages again. I really appreciate it. I do. And I appreciate your patience. And I love you guys. I'm so happy for our little community that we have here. You guys mean a lot to me. and I'm really happy to be back with you. And yeah, if you want to sign up for the second installment of the course, or you want to purchase the first installment of the course, I'll leave the link to sign up for the second installment, but you can email me, and my email is down in the show more or the description box below the video if you want to email me about that. Let's hope that my lighting and my connectors all show up so I don't have to go and buy all new ones. But it kind of makes you wonder, like, what have I not noticed that's missing? It's really creepy that someone was in the house. But yeah, that's the transit that's happening actually for me, with Pluto. So he is sneaky. So a lot of underhanded stuff. But yeah. All right, everybody, sending you so much love and gratitude, and I will see you again soon. Okay, bye bye.